What is up, y'all? Welcome back to my podcast, the Atlanta Audible. I'm your host, Ice Ray, and this is episode 6, where I'll be breaking down Atlanta's quarterback play in 2025. This will be a quarterback duel. The younger, less experienced Michael Penix Jr. versus the veteran Kirk Cousins. Far too many people believe that Kirk Cousins outplayed Michael Penix Jr. in 2025. And this is just simply not true. Many people believe this because Cousins was 5-3 as Atlanta's starter and ended the season on a 4-game winning streak. However, I'm not saying that Penix was anything very insane before he got injured, but I believe that the baseline of quarterback play for Michael Penix Jr. was higher than that of Kirk Cousins.
Boy, his career has been revived as it was a...
And I know what you guys are thinking. Yes, Cousins did go 5-3 as a starter, while Penix was just 3-4. But for one, the play calling was very different. Penix was forced to operate mostly out of the pistol, while the play calling was far different when Cousins was under center. And two, in a lot of the games, Cousins just relied on Bijan Robinson. I mean, take the Rams game, for example. He threw for just 126 yards that game, and his one touchdown was to a wide-open Bijan Robinson.
Third down and goal. Floated. Robinson, touchdown, Atlanta.
Any decent quarterback is making this play. Not to mention that Michael Penix Jr. is far more athletic than Kirk Cousins. And I know that's crazy to say about a player who's torn his ACL multiple times now, including last season with a partially torn ACL. But look at this play. Kirk Cousins would not be able to do this, not even in his prime. Penix's athleticism is underrated. He clocked in at an unofficial 4.4640. And last offseason, Bijan Robinson said he was one of the most underrated athletes on the team. The second-year quarterback showed up in 9 games for the Atlanta Falcons in 2025, 8 full starts before partially tearing his ACL late in the third quarter in Week 11. Penix was great against the Commanders and Patriots and was good in the first half of his Week 6 matchup with the Buffalo Bills. He was great against the Panthers in Week 11 until he got hurt and was out for the season. He was bad against the Colts, where he completed under 45% of his passes, and the Panthers, the first time the two teams matched up in Week 3. He was average against the Buccaneers, Vikings, and 49ers. So, in his 9 games, Penix was good in 3.5 of them, he was bad in 2 of them, and average in 3 of them. Don't forget, the quarterback only has 12 career starts, not even a season worth of starts. In Week 1, in his 4th career start, Michael Penix Jr. completed 64.2% of his passes for nearly 300 yards and 2 total touchdowns. However, most impressive were his 4th quarter heroics. Penix converted not just 1, but 2 fourth downs, both with his legs, including the Space Jam touchdown that I showed earlier. And then, in the final drive of the game, he orchestrated a masterful drive, down his wide receiver 1 in Drake London and wide receiver 2 in Darnell Mooney, who were both out for the final series of the game. Penix led the Falcons into field goal range with under 2 minutes to go and only 1 timeout, until kicker Younghoe Koo would miss the game-tying field goal that would have sent the game to overtime.
Keep the Falcons alive as Penix steps up, takes off, and then slides. Penix on first down, fires, it is caught, and taken up the sideline by Ray McCloud. Field on first down. Penix complete. Another first down, Kyle Pitts from the 34. Penix dumps it off. Bijan Robinson. Penix complete. Pitts running for the sideline.
This is one of the reasons that win-loss records should not factor into quarterback discourse. Michael Penix Jr.'s kickers in 2025 were Younghoe Koo and Parker Romo, both of whom are not in the NFL right now. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins had Zane Gonzalez, who was 19 of 22 on his kicks, with 2 of his 3 misses being kicks that were blocked. In Week 2, Michael Penix Jr. would be facing a Brian Flores defense. No easy task for a veteran quarterback, but especially difficult for a young quarterback who's not very experienced in the NFL. Against the Vikings, Penix completed 61.9% of his passes for 135 yards, no touchdowns, and an 80.5 passer rating. One thing about Penix is that he's great at not taking sacks. He fares very well under pressure, better than Kirk Cousins, which is crazy considering that Cousins is the veteran in the NFL. This play ultimately goes down as an incompletion, but very impressive for a quarterback in his 5th start ever to feel the pressure and still get the ball off. Watch Penix here again under pressure. Gets the ball off to Kyle Pitts and completes it for a first down despite getting hit. The ball is a little high, but Penix, despite getting hit, still puts the ball up where only his receiver and Kyle Pitts can go up and get the ball, and that's exactly what Kyle Pitts does. This next play to London is great, minus the fumble, of course. Penix rolls to his right, which is very difficult for a statue of a quarterback in Kirk Cousins to do, and places the ball perfectly where London can continue to make yards after the catch. And that's exactly what London does until he fumbles the ball. One thing that Penix struggles with is his inconsistency. He'll make the best throw you've ever seen one play and then miss the easy one the next time. If Penix hopes to be a long-time starter in the NFL, he's going to have to fix that up and be more consistent. Here, he just misses an easy throw to Ray McCloud, throwing the ball behind him on 2nd and long. On this next play, once again, he just misses an easy one. He rushes his throw for no reason. The pressure is not even there yet, and sails the ball over London's head. This is just an example of a quarterback being inexperienced against a Brian Flores defense. Flores was blitzing him all night long, and the quarterback was scared. But then, this next play, he reacts well to the pressure. He rolls to his left and hits Bijan Robinson on the sideline for a nice little gain. One thing you'll notice about Penix is that he's always learning from his mistakes. So, week 2 Penix was nothing very impressive. However, he didn't do anything to hurt the team. And Brian Flores did everything in his power to keep everything short. He didn't want Penix's arm to get loose, and he didn't concede anything deep. However, in week 3, Penix was bad, and there's no lying about that. He completed just 50% of his passes for 170 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, one of which was returned back for a touchdown. The Falcons would get shut out in this game, losing this one 30-0 to the Carolina Panthers. Penix started the afternoon with an incompletion. He threw this ball high and behind Pitts, but with the ball hitting the tight end, it's one that he should have come down with. However, a few plays later, he made a very great throw to Darnell Mooney in a collapsing pocket. The pocket implodes all around the second-year quarterback, but instead of panicking, he remains cool and collected and throws a nice pass to the open receiver. 2 plays later, though, he misses Drake London and misses him bad. London is open behind J.C. Horn for the first down, and Penix might have thought he was going to keep moving, but he doesn't, and the ball is sailed over his head. The next play, on a 3rd and 7, Penix sails another one over London's head. London is great at coming down with contested catches. All you have to do is get the ball in his vicinity. So this was a bad miss. 2 series later, Michael Penix Jr. hits Darnell Mooney on a crossing route on 3rd and 8 for what should have been a big gain, but the wide receiver could not hold on. On a 3rd and 5, near midfield, with Atlanta down just 10 with the half quickly approaching, Michael Penix Jr. just throws his ball to no one. It's way behind River and McCloud, and may have been another miscommunication. Atlanta came out of the half down 10, but the Falcons defense forced a quick 3-and-out. With 27 minutes to go and down 10 points, the Falcons still had a chance to come back in this one. That was until this happened.
Penix with time is intercepted. That's completely on Penix.
On a 4th and 8, late in the 3rd quarter, with Atlanta down 20 and the game seemingly out of hand, Michael Penix Jr. would throw his 2nd interception of the game. On this one, Ray McCloud just slipped, and it's not really Michael Penix Jr.'s fault, but it was a bad game for him and the Atlanta Falcons offense as a whole. In week 4, Michael Penix Jr. bounced back masterfully from his disaster class in week 3 against the Carolina Panthers. One thing you'll notice about Penix is that every time, right after he has a bad game, he plays great the very next game. An awesome thing to see from your young quarterback is how he deals with disaster. In week 4, he completed 76.9% of his passes for 313 yards, a career high, 2 touchdowns, and 126.0 pass rating, a season high. He would throw an interception, but it would be his last of the season. Michael Penix Jr. was slinging the rock this game. And the best thing was that for the first time this season, we were able to see Michael Penix Jr. show off his cannon of an arm. He connected on this 43-yard deep ball to Drake London down the left sideline early in the 2nd quarter. He was dealing. He even threw a great ball to Drake London, who went up and got it in traffic, but a ball that hit him in the chest. 2 plays after his 43-yard bomb to Drake London, he hit Darnell Mooney for a nice first down. The ball hit him straight in the chest. He even got it going with his legs, converting a 3rd and 4 on the ground. With Atlanta holding on to just a 7-point lead midway through the 4th quarter, Michael Penix Jr. took to his legs to convert the first down. Then, on a 3rd and 6, he hit Kyle Pitts on a nice gain on what may have been a little bit of a push-off. A great throw straight into the waiting hands of Kyle Pitts. So, Michael Penix Jr. bounced back masterfully after his disaster class in Week 3 against the Commanders. In Penix's next game, he had a great first half against the Buffalo Bills. He opened up the night on a 23-yard gain to Drake London. He steps into this pass and throws a great ball to London, who's found a soft spot in the zone. With time winding down in the first quarter, this is an incredible play from both quarterback and receiver. Drake London is by no means open, but Penix fits the ball in there where only his receiver can make a play on the ball. And make a play on the ball, London does. He comes down with the ball and makes an insane effort to get in for the score. Penix also got it going with his legs once again this game. On 1st and 10, he runs for a nice 8-yard gain down the left sideline. Honestly, he could have gone for more, but he played it safe and settled for 8. Nice to see your quarterback with an injury history play it safe and not get hurt. On the ensuing 3rd and 2, Penix rolls out right, waits patiently for Kyle Pitts to get open, and when Pitts gets open, he throws it to the wide open tight end for the first down. Savvy stuff from the young quarterback to wait for his receiver to get open. With 37 seconds to go in the half, Michael Penix Jr. delivers a beautiful ball to Casey Washington in between 2 defenders. Unfortunately, it ends up incomplete, but this ball hit Washington in the hands before it was ultimately broken up by Tre'Davious White. A great play. I said that Penix was great in the first half, and he was, but in the second half, he struggled a bit. On the Falcons' first drive of the 3rd quarter, Drake London is wide open down the right sideline, but Penix lacks touch and just misses this pass, which would have gone for a huge gain. A few plays later, he takes a bad sack, and I was praising his ability to not take sacks earlier, but this one is one that he needs to learn to just throw away. 2 plays later, he misses Drake London again, very badly. Just a bad series for Penix overall. Then, roughly midway through the 4th quarter, with the 3rd and 2 at Atlanta's 23, Michael Penix Jr. nearly throws an interception trying to force the ball to Drake London, who's double covered. Atlanta is very lucky that this ball does not get intercepted. However, on this next play, you'll see exactly why Atlanta drafted Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall. On a 2nd and 9, he sees the pressure coming. He knows he's about to take a big hit, but he still stands in the pocket and delivers a nice ball to Bijan Robinson for the first down. So, Penix was great in the first half against the Buffalo Bills, and in the 4th quarter, he completed a nice 23-yard gain to Bijan Robinson and helped lead the Falcons into field goal range to secure a 10-point victory over the Super Bowl contending Buffalo Bills. In Week 7, the Atlanta Falcons would be facing off against the 49ers in San Francisco. This was not an amazing game from Michael Penix Jr., but not as bad as the stats make it seem. He ended the night completing 55.3% of his passes for 241 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. He did have a fumble, however, it was not his fault, with Elijah Wilkinson letting Bryce Huff through untouched seconds before the half. Penix opened up the night with a nice 27-yard completion to Kyle Pitts. However, unfortunately, the play would be called back due to a holding by right tackle Elijah Wilkinson. On 1st and 10, late in the first quarter, Michael Penix Jr. masterfully avoids the sack and helps keep the Falcons in field goal range. Unfortunately, he cannot complete the pass downfield, but still, taking the sack would have been disastrous. I said before that Penix learns from his mistakes, and after taking a horrible sack against the Bills in Week 6, he learns not to do the same against the 49ers. This next play by Penix is very impressive. With the quarterback looking to throw the ball down the field, no one is open. The pocket is collapsing, but the second-year quarterback remains calm, cool, and collected, still looking for an outlet to throw. Finally, he rolls to his right and finds an open Bijan Robinson. One thing I'll never understand is a quarterback who makes the hard throws look easy and the easy throws look hard. However, that's exactly the type of quarterback that Michael Penix Jr. is. But with seconds to go before halftime, Michael Penix Jr. makes some magic happen. He hits Darnell Mooney deep down the left sideline for a 38-yard gain, which puts the Falcons on the San Francisco 49ers 22-yard line with down 7. However, unfortunately, disaster struck the next play. Michael Penix Jr. held the ball for far too long, and though he can't take a sack because the Falcons had no timeouts left, he throws the ball away. It would go down as an intentional grounding, and the Falcons would come away with 0 points after being in 49ers territory. But Penix opens up the third quarter with a nice pass on the right sideline to Kyle Pitts in 49ers territory. A great ball that he puts right in the receiver's hands. Next play would be Penix's touchdown of the game, which really wasn't very impressive. The left-handed quarterback threw a screen pass to running back Bijan Robinson, and the stud running back does all the work as he gets in for the score. Late in the third quarter, Penix would convert a very impressive 3rd and 13. He threw an absolute strike to wide receiver Casey Washington. Then, on the next series, Penix threw the ball up to Kyle Pitts where only his tight end could get the ball on a 2nd and long, and Kyle Pitts does exactly that on the right sideline. Down 10 with roughly 2 minutes to go in the game, and the game essentially out of hand, but Michael Penix Jr. had not given up. He drops back to pass and throws an absolute dot down the field to wide receiver Darnell Mooney, who unfortunately cannot corral the ball. Penix would end up injured on the last series of the game, and Kirk Cousins would be starting for the Falcons in Week 8 against the Miami Dolphins. However, Kirk Cousins was not very good in his first start of 2025. He finished the game completing 67% of his passes for 173 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. However, he was not as good as the numbers may seem. He started the game fine. He even hit Kyle Pitts for a nice gain late in the first quarter. However, in the second quarter is when he started to look bad. On 3rd and 8, after taking a sack on 2nd and 3, he sails the ball over the head of Darnell Mooney. Sailing the ball over the heads of his wide receivers would become a trend for Kirk Cousins in this game. On a 3rd and 4, on Atlanta's first drive of the third quarter, Kirk Cousins sails the ball over the head of David Sills, who is running a curl route. Oh look, another ball over the head of his wide receiver. I get that he was facing pressure, so he could not throw an accurate pass here, but this is what I mean. Kirk Cousins was not that good for the Atlanta Falcons this season. Early in the fourth quarter, with the game essentially out of hand, Kirk Cousins misses another ball, this time on a deep shot to Darnell Mooney. On this next play, he throws the ball to absolutely no one. He's getting hit as he throws, but there's no one even in the general vicinity of this ball. I do not know who he's throwing it to. Kirk Cousins got his completions, dinking and dunking the ball all afternoon long, but when he was forced to actually throw the ball, he was not very good at doing that. Michael Penix Jr. would return to the field the next week, and he had a pretty good game. He completed 55.9% of his passes for 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Late in the first quarter, he threw a nice ball to Kyle Pitts in between 3 defenders. It's not a perfect ball, but he gets the ball where his receiver can make a play on it, and look at the zip on that thing. If Kirk Cousins was throwing it, it would take 3 to 5 business days to arrive. On this touchdown play to Drake London, it's a pretty nice ball. He throws the ball up for where only his wide receiver can make a play on it, and that's exactly what Drake London does. Remember, if the ball's in his vicinity, then Drake London is going to come down with it. This next one is a crazy ball that left even the announcer in disbelief. On 1st and 10 late in the second quarter, Atlanta badly needed offense. Michael Penix Jr. dropped back, faked the handoff, and threw the ball to a smothered Darnell Mooney, who completed it in the middle of 3 defenders. Then, on 2nd and goal, with 15 seconds left to go in half, Michael Penix Jr. and Drake London combined for their second touchdown of the afternoon. Penix led his receiver just enough, and London went up and came down with the ball for the score. On 2nd and 14 in the third quarter, down 10, the pocket collapses on Michael Penix Jr. Instead of panicking and forcing a bad throw or taking a sack, he escapes the pocket and runs for the first down. He honestly looked pretty fast here. Then, roughly midway through the fourth quarter, Michael Penix Jr. dropped back and faked the handoff. That's when he decided it was time to air the ball out. He throws a 43-yard rocket to who else but Drake London. The ball is high and in a place where London can make a play on it, and that's exactly what he does for a 43-yard gain with all-pro cornerback Christian Gonzalez in coverage. Not the best throw from Michael Penix Jr., but impressive that he had the arm strength to get it down there. On a crucial 3rd and 4, Michael Penix Jr. once again showed off his athleticism. He feels the pressure and rolls to his right. He stops and sees Kyle Pitts, who has leverage on his defender, and hits the tight end. Impressive stuff. Unfortunately, the tight end cannot come down with the ball, and it goes as incomplete. However, on a 4th and goal, Michael Penix Jr. would throw his best ball of the afternoon and Drake London would haul in his best catch of the game. Michael Penix Jr. places this ball where only Drake London can make a play on it, and London comes down with the left-handed, one-handed snag to secure his first career hat trick. Then, down 1 with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, Michael Penix Jr. once again shows off his athleticism. With no one open down the field, he rolls to his left to buy his wide receiver some time. Drake London notices his quarterback is in trouble and breaks for the left sideline as well. The duo connects for a huge 25-yard gain. At the 50-yard line, Atlanta needs roughly 15 more yards before they can kick the game-winning field goal. However, unfortunately, on 2nd and 10, Ryan Musil rushes the snap, and Michael Penix Jr. dirts it to avoid a sack. It goes down as an intentional grounding and essentially loses Atlanta the game. The next week, the Falcons would fly to Berlin to face the Indianapolis Colts, and it would be Michael Penix Jr.'s worst game of his career, accuracy-wise. He completed just 42.9% of his passes for 177 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Penix was not good this game. However, the drops also did not help. On a 1st and 10, on the Falcons' first offensive drive of the game, he drops back and throws a nice ball to an open Kyle Pitts that would have gone down for a huge gain if the tight end did not drop the ball. However, on the Falcons' next drive of the game, Michael Penix Jr. had a very costly fumble. The line gets beat almost immediately, but Penix needs to be able to hold on to this ball. The Colts would go down and score a touchdown following the fumble. This next throw is one of Penix's best, not only of the entire game, but of the entire season. On the 16-yard touchdown pass, he leads Drake London perfectly, and the receiver only barely has to extend his arms to come down with the ball. He also threw the ball where the safety had no chance of making a play on it. On the Falcons' first drive of the 3rd quarter, Michael Penix Jr. comes out and makes a great play. On 2nd and 6, he fakes the handoff to Tyler Algier and rolls to his left. He hits Kyle Pitts on the left sideline for a nice 25-yard gain. Penix sure loves that left sideline. A few plays later, on a 3rd and 4, he has Pitts open for a touchdown. Pitts has his man beat by at least a step, and all Penix has to do is lead the tight end like he did earlier on the London touchdown, and it's another Atlanta score. Unfortunately, he underthrows the ball, and the defender catches up to Pitts as he slows down to make a play on the ball. It goes down incomplete. On the 3rd and 8 on the next drive, Michael Penix Jr. nearly throws his first interception since week 4. He throws this ball inside to Drake London, where he should have thrown it outside towards the sideline. Quarterback Sauce Gardner makes a play on the ball and nearly comes down with an interception. Then, late in the 3rd quarter, Michael Penix Jr. fires a laser to Drake London. He somehow gets the ball in there, despite the defender a millisecond away from making a play on the ball. It's beyond infuriating that Michael Penix Jr. can make these hard throws, but still misses the easy ones. Matt Ryan said that they need to work on hitting their layups.
Let's hit our layups. Let's get good at hitting our layups.
I don't know what happened to Michael Penix Jr. in the second half because he was playing so well in the first half. However, he locked in for the Falcons on the next drive. On a 1st and 10, he rolled to his left and fit a nice pass into Bijan Robinson on the left sideline. There's not much space here, so it was nice that he fit the pass in there. And then, with 25 seconds left to go in the game, with the game tied 25-all, Michael Penix Jr.'s clutch factor kicked in. He hit Darnell Mooney for what would have been a big gain if the receiver did not bobble the ball and drop it. And then, in overtime, Michael Penix Jr. was once again inaccurate and just missed Mooney. This was a bad game against the Colts for Michael Penix Jr. At this point, heading into Week 11, Michael Penix Jr. had completed 140 straight passes without an interception. Once again, Penix bounced back masterfully from his disaster class. He completed 11 of his 12 passes, 91%, in the first half. We were talking about hitting our layups last week, and that's exactly what Michael Penix Jr. was doing against the Carolina Panthers. This one would go for 20 yards, and a drive that started on Atlanta's 5 now found itself in Panthers territory. A few plays later, Michael Penix Jr. would convert a nice pass to Darnell Mooney on 3rd and 10. Nice to see Penix keep his cool in a collapsing pocket and then hit Mooney for the first down. Nothing crazy on this throw, but Penix gets it off in time, and if not, it could have been a sack or even a fumble. It hits London in the chest, so definitely not a bad ball. On the Falcons' next drive, which wouldn't come until there was only 6 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, Penix showed off his wheels as he ran for almost a first down on 1st and 10. The next play, facing a 2nd and 11 after a holding penalty, he throws a ball which hits Mooney in the chest, but it is not hauled in. Mooney had far too many drops on catchable balls this season. The next play would be Penix's final one of the season. It would be revealed the next day that on this 3rd and 11 blitz by Carolina, Michael Penix Jr. had partially torn his ACL. Cousins would enter the game, and frankly, he sucked. He completed just 6 of his 14 passes, 42.9% for 48 yards. However, I don't blame him too much, as he was just thrust into the game after Michael Penix Jr. went down with injury. On a 3rd and 4, midway through the 4th quarter, he makes a poor decision, and he's very lucky that the Panthers did not make him pay. He targets Darnell Mooney in what looks like triple coverage, and the ball is nearly intercepted. However, luckily, it falls harmlessly to the ground. Watch Cousins here. Late in the 4th quarter, he gets flustered by the pressure and just dirts the pass. These are mistakes that a veteran quarterback, cannot and should not be making. 2 plays later, the worst possible thing could happen. Drake London gets injured trying to reach out and grab an overthrown Kirk Cousins pass. The ball is slightly overthrown, but London gets hurt trying to make a play on it. Honestly, this play right here should end all the Kirk Cousins discussions. Penix and London were leading the league in yards. Kirk Cousins is getting London injured. Next week, the Falcons will be playing the New Orleans Saints, and this was one of Kirk Cousins' best games of the season. He completed 69.6% of his passes for 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. However, the interception was not his fault. Better games. Cousins was really nothing special this game. On 3rd and 4, on the Falcons' second drive of the game, he took a sack, showing his declining pocket presence. However, on the next drive, Cousins does feel the pressure and makes an impressive play. Falcons run play action, and after faking the handoff, the veteran QB steps up with pressure all around him, makes a nice throw to a not-so-open Mooney on the right sideline. But then, 3 plays later, once again, Kirk Cousins shows bad pocket presence as he fumbles the ball. Not only did he hold the ball for far too long, but he holds his windup because he knows he can't get any power on the ball otherwise, and the Saints strip it from him on 3rd and 11. I'll show this interception. Once again, I want to reiterate that I know this ball is not his fault. From the Falcons' 41, Cousins throws a short pass that should go down as a completion as it hits the tight end Kyle Pitts in his hands. Instead, it's bobbled into the air and comes down in the hands of an Aints player who takes it all the way back for a score. It was not his fault. A big reason why Kirk Cousins looks so good to end the season is because Bijan Robinson looks so good to end the season. I mean, look at this play. Kirk Cousins gets the ball to Bijan Robinson on a screenplay, who makes the Saints pay. Penix was not as willing to hit the checkdowns as he's always looking to make a play down the field, while Cousins is more than willing to take what the defense gives him. But 1 play later, Cousins does look to make the big play down the field. What is one of the best plays of the 2025 Falcons season. Cousins fakes the handoff to Robinson and hits Mooney deep down the field for the 49-yard touchdown. Honestly, one of the few good plays that Mooney made all year, and it was his only touchdown. That would be Cousins' final completion of the night, with Atlanta just running out the clock on their final few drives to secure the 24-10 victory over the New Orleans Saints. Next week, against the Jets, Kirk Cousins would complete 63.6% of his passes for 238 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Look at the touchdown, though. It is a screen pass, and David Sills is the one who does all the work, making men miss as he runs in for the score. Cousins did nothing impressive there. These are the types of completions that Kirk Cousins was making. These are not impressive. The ceiling that Penix has is higher, and that is why it drives me crazy when people say that Cousins was better for the Falcons this season. This is what happens when you ask Cousins to go deep normally, not the Darnell Mooney pass that we saw last week. He was throwing this one for David Sills, but it's so far off target, it could have been intended for Darnell Mooney. Like I said during the last game, Bijan Robinson was doing Bijan Robinson things to end the year. Here, a 3-yard throw by Cousins turns into a 42-yard gain. But I will admit that it's impressive that he gets his ball off instead of taking the sack. A lot of Cousins' yards in this game were due to his weapons making yards after the catch. On this play, he hits Kyle Pitts on a 4-yard slant that the tight end takes 24 yards for a big gain. I don't mean to sound like a hater. Cousins throwing for over 200 yards with the wide receiver core composed of Darnell Mooney, David Sills, and Devin Tompkins, Dylan Drummond is very impressive. However, I just don't like it when people think that him dinking and dunking all over the field is more impressive than what Michael Penix Jr. has been doing. And the next week, Kirk Cousins had his worst game of the 2025 season. He completed just 50% of his passes for 162 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. However, neither interception was his fault. This is why we need to normalize adding context to stats. He did have this nice pass to Pitts, however. Late in the second quarter, with the ball on the Atlanta 40, the Falcons faced a 2nd and long. Cousins took the snap and hit Pitts for a nice 30-yard gain. He leads Pitts perfectly. However, in the third quarter, it's another interception for Cousins, again off the hands of Kyle Pitts. This one is more on Cousins, however. Pitts is nowhere near open, with the defender draped all over him. Pitts tips it into the air and it's intercepted by the rookie Nick Emenwari. It was his first career interception. The game out of hand, down 21 to start the fourth quarter, Kirk Cousins sails one over the head of David Sills. David Sills is fighting with the defender, but he still has no chance. 2 plays later, Cousins throws his second interception of the game, once again targeting David Sills. It is 3rd and 7, and Sills fakes running a route, then runs back behind the line of scrimmage. It may have been a fake screen, but he bobbles the pass into the air and is intercepted by the Seahawks. Not as bad of a game from Cousins as the stats suggest, but again, nothing very impressive. Next up, Kirk Cousins had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team he genuinely owns. He completed 68.2% of his passes, 373 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was great. All of Cousins' vices just seem to magically disappear when he plays against the Buccaneers. Early in the second quarter, with the pocket collapsing on a 3rd and 5, he is unfazed by the pressure and hits David Sills, who is by no means open for the first down. On his first touchdown of the night, the throw isn't very impressive, but for him to stay in the pocket, not panic, not rush, and go through his reads and find the open Pitts, it's a nice play. This pass went down as incomplete because Bijan Robinson could not get a second foot down. However, it's a great throw and catch by both the quarterback and the runner. Cousins leads Bijan to the right sideline, and Robinson nearly makes a very impressive catch. Good throw and catch that unfortunately was not complete. And Pitts were not on the same page in Seattle. However, in Tampa Bay, that all changed. On this first and 10, the Falcons are running the 2-minute drill, trying to get points on the board before halftime. Pitts is wide open, and Cousins hits him in stride for a big 36-yard gain. Next play, the duel connects again for a 17-yard touchdown. Second of the night. Again, not a crazy throw, but Cousins puts it where only Pitts can make a play on the ball, even with the safety right there. What I don't like about Kirk is how often he's ready to take the check down. Here it is, 3rd and 14, and he just dumps it off to Pitts. It goes on as a completion, but there's a very slim chance that the tight end will be able to make a play. I get it, he's being safe with the ball, but Penix is a legit playmaker. He's a legit game changer. I don't think that Kirk Cousins has that anymore. On the next series, he makes a nice throw that should have gone down for a touchdown. On 1st and 10, from the Buccaneers' 44-yard line, he drops back and hits a wide-open David Sills down the right sideline. The ball hits Sills square in the hands, but he drops it. It's 3rd and 7, midway through the fourth quarter, with the Falcons trailing by 8. The Buccaneers send an all-out blitz. Just as any other team, Kirk Cousins is either sacked or throws an incompletion and maybe even an interception. Against the Bucs, he completes the ball to Kyle Pitts. A few plays later, he connects with Kyle Pitts for the duo's 3rd touchdown of the night. This is a crucial 3rd and goal, and Pitts is not open when Cousins throws the ball. He's counting on his guy to get open and catch the ball, and that's exactly what Kyle Pitts does, even bobbling the ball for cinematic effect. Down 2 with 47 seconds to go and facing a 4th and 14, Kirk Chains makes some magic happen. He drops back deep and scans the field before finding David Sills deep down the right sideline for the first down conversion. Sill makes up for his earlier drop. A few plays later, Zane Gonzalez hits the game-winning field goal, and Kirk Cousins improves to 3-0 versus the Bucs. The next week, Kirk Cousins would complete 60% of his passes for 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The interception was not his fault, with the recently activated Drake London slipping on his route as Kirk Cousins was looking to throw the ball on 4th. Either way, with London on the ground and on 4th down, it was going to be Arizona football. However, this game was once again Kirk Cousins hitting Bijan Robinson on short gains and the running back doing all the work. Early in the second quarter, Cousins dropped back and faked the handoff to Bijan, eventually hitting him on a 4-yard pass, which the running back turned into a 41-yard gain. 2 plays later, he hit Bijan Robinson on a 13-yard touchdown pass. However, this was once again Bijan Robinson doing all the work, with Kirk Cousins hitting him on a screen pass, and the running back taking it all the way in. Watch this wobbly ball that he throws to Kyle Pitts. It takes all the power in his body to throw this, and it's not even on target. Incomplete on 1st and 10. A few plays later, he misses an open Bijan Robinson, who has his defender beat by at least a step. Maybe a miscommunication here, because Bijan Robinson turns his head as he heads for the sideline, but Cousins is throwing the ball towards the end zone. His second touchdown of the night is again nothing crazy. On a 3rd and 4 from the 6th, with just 27 seconds to go in the half, he hits a wide-open Kyle Pitts for the score, his 4th in the last 6 quarters. On the first drive of the second half, on a 3rd and 8, I will say that he handled the pressure very well. Pocket is collapsing all around him, but he still remains calm, going through his progressions until he finds Kyle Pitts for the first down. The ball is a little high, but finding the open guy here is very important. Falcons find themselves in 2nd and goal from the 1, and on this play, Kirk Cousins sneaks the ball in to the end zone for his 3rd touchdown of the afternoon. I think it's hilarious that the Falcons would sneak it here with Kirk Cousins, his 2nd of the game, after refusing to sneak it to him all year last season to keep his health in check. Cousins would not do much again for the rest of the game, as the Falcons would look to drain the clock in the 4th quarter and hold on to their victory against the Cardinals. Cousins was also lackluster the next week against the Rams in Week 17. He completed 65% of his passes for 126 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0. On the Falcons' first drive of the game, he nearly threw it. On 3rd and 7, he's targeting Drake London, who is not open at all. If he threw it inside, then maybe, just maybe, London can make a play on it. But he throws it towards the sideline, and it's almost intercepted. On 3rd and 9, early in the second quarter, he tries to hit Kyle Pitts on the side. Instead, the ball is sailed out of bounds with no chance of Pitts making a play on the ball. On 3rd and 4, early in the fourth quarter, Kirk Cousins once again nearly throws an interception, trying to force the ball to Bijan. Johnson is draped by 2 defenders. No reason to try and force the ball into him here. Falcons-Rams game was actually the Bijan Robinson show, with Robinson accumulating over 200 yards, total yards through the game and scoring twice, one through the air and one through the ground, including a 91-yard touchdown run, the longest of the season. Finally, in Week 18, Kirk Cousins would lead the Falcons to their 4th straight win and their 2nd straight 8-9 season. He completed 56.8% of his passes for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Cousins threw an interception in the first quarter. The Falcons had a 1st and 10 from the Saints 12, and Cousins stared down Pitts the whole way, trying to hit him on the check down. Instead, the Aints jumped the ball and intercepted. Falcons do end up scoring first, however, after a blocked punt by the Falcons gives them 1st and goal in New Orleans Saints territory. On a 2nd and goal from the 15, Cousins finds a wide-open Drake London for 6. London is seen visibly upset on the sideline after the play, and some people theorize that it may have been because it took Kirk Cousins so long to find him, despite being open for so long. On 3rd and 7 from the New Orleans 22, Kirk Cousins nearly has a fumble. He is looking to throw and doesn't see Chase Young behind him. The ball is hit as he throws, and they rule it as forward progress, and it does not go down as a fumble, and instead an incomplete pass. Early in the 3rd quarter, he did have a very cool play to London. With London finally feeling healthy after his 4 weeks of being sidelined, Cousins throws it up to the wide receiver, who has his defender beat by about a step. A well-placed ball, and London goes up and mosses the defender. Unfortunately, Cousins' next throw would not be a very good one. On a 3rd and 9 from the Saints 33, he looks to hit Darnell Mooney on the left sideline. However, the pass is nowhere near the wide receiver, so Cousins ends the season with the Falcons on a 4-game win streak. He was much better with the Falcons this season than he was in his final 5 games last season, where he finished with 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions. Again, I don't think he was bad at all, but what really helped the Falcons start winning games is that with Michael Penix Jr. out, they started to rely more on Bijan Robinson, who's easily their best playmaker. With Kirk Cousins' recent contract restructure, it kicks the money down to 2027. So if he's still on the team after March 13th, the Falcons will have to pay him the guaranteed money. And I can't see that happening. Now there is a chance that they could cut him and then re-sign him to a smaller contract, which could potentially happen if Cousins really wants to stay in Atlanta. But there are rumblings and rumors that he might want to go back to Minnesota. Penix averaged 220 passing yards per game. Cousins 215. Penix had an 88.5 passer rating. Cousins 84.5. Penix was one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in that league last season, completing to 60.1% of his passes. Cousins was hardly better at 61.7%. Both had 2 games in which they completed 50% or fewer of their passes. Penix had 5 games with 200 or more passing yards. Kirk Cousins had just 2. Penix was the better quarterback in 2025, and he's the quarterback that the Falcons should invest in heading into 2026. Kirk Cousins, thanks for the fun 6-3 start last year, but unfortunately your time in Atlanta is up. As usual, thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a sub. I hope you enjoyed the content, and have a great day. Ice Ray out.